I'd like to call the November 8th, 2017 meeting of the Willits City Council to order, and Pledge of Allegiance. Could I have Dusty Dooley, our city planner, lead us in the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kathy, roll call.
Councilmember Rodriguez. Present. Strong. Here.
I am here.
Yes.
Here. All right. Public communication. The council welcomes participation in its meetings. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person so that everyone may be given an opportunity to be heard. To expedite matters and avoid repetition, whenever any group of persons wishes to address the council on the same subject matter, the mayor may request that a spokesperson be chosen by the group. This item is limited to matters under the jurisdiction of the City Council which are not on the posted agenda. Public criticism of the City Council, Commission, boards, and agencies will not be prohibited. No action shall be taken. Is there anybody from the public that would like to address the council right now? Going, gone. All right. Public matters. Discussion and possible approval of general plan amendment GPA 17-01 and zone change 17-01 for Steve Sheldon. Dusty?
Thank you, Mayor Gonzalez. Good evening, council members. Welcome to it with our new city manager. So let me thank you for introducing the project. Before I start, this is one of those current planning projects that I discussed taking way too long based on the other types of workload that your staff had, and so I'm very relieved to be finally getting to some of these other projects, and so hopefully we can keep that roll going. Just very quickly, staff has not received any public comment on this item. I did want to just quickly go over the packet. You have the agenda summary report along with the staff report, as well as a variety of attachments, including the initial study, a location map, a variety of other maps, conceptual site plan for some future senior housing that may result from approval of this project, and as well as the resolution. And then I believe our clerk was able to hand you out a couple updated maps that do a better job, hopefully, of actually showcasing the portion of the property that's subject to today's project request. This property is currently split zoned and is improved with the existing senior housing development. 6.1 acres is zoned R2 residential medium density, and 1.1 acres of the property that remains undeveloped is zoned public facility. I did try to get you some background information as to why a portion of this property remained in the public facility zoning, and unfortunately I wasn't able to discover the intent behind that. You may be curious as to why the applicant is requesting to go to R3 rather than R2, consistent with the property's current zoning designation. And the reason is that senior housing falls under the group residential use type, which is a permitted use in the R3 zoning. The applicant has stated that the intent of this rezone is to establish up to 12 additional senior housing units on the property. If the R2 designation would require a use permit to establish such use. So this approval of the project tonight, if it pleases the council, would result in another split zone property, which isn't that uncommon. I mentioned that the purpose of the project is to build 12 new senior housing units. That's not part of the project request, but do know that if the property is rezoned, if you do approve it, we would anticipate the applicant coming in for those additional housing units that would be subject to building, parking requirements, etc. Upon completing the project review, the only issue that we discovered was related to a potential impact that a future development may have on the creek or fish habitat. CDFW, California Department of Fish and Wildlife staff met with the applicant and myself at the site and we identified appropriate buffers to maintain future development from the edge of the creek bank. And then they also recommended some conditions related to the protection of the creek and riparian habitat, including lighting restrictions. And those recommendations from CDFW are found in conditions of approval 1 through 3 in the staff report and the resolution. But there is language in there to keep it flexible in that if they are able to obtain permission through a variety of permitting process with Fish and Wildlife to extend improvements closer to the creek, then that's fine. They just need to share that approval with staff. So in the report, I mentioned that public facility land is typically set aside for some sort of public use, whether it's a park or a new firehouse or something. In this case, there is no identified public use for that portion of the property, nor is it really in a location or of size to provide a substantial benefit. And it may be that the city's better served by approving the rezone and allowing for some additional housing units to go in at that location. So with that, staff's recommending that we adopt the resolution certifying the mitigated negative declaration and approving General Plan Amendment GPA 1701 and subsequent zone change ZC 1701, subject to the conditions of approval.
A question or two. Just one of the things was, is this going to be under the same ownership and same management as the Redwood Meadows complex, so that they would have?
That's my understanding. This would remain part of that same property and would be an expansion of that development.
Okay, and then the other question is, since it's now going to be a permitted use rather than a conditional use of the R3 zone, would we as planning commission still see that at all, or is that going to be just staff?
Right now it's zone public facility, so it wouldn't allow that use.
Well, I know that.
Right,
yeah.
okay,
But I mean,
yeah.
if
And
we
so
was-
by it being a permitted use, he'd be subject to city code and applicable standards, but it would not come back to you as the planning commission to act on a discretionary basis.
So as long as they met all the fish and game concerns and the
Parking,
sure.
building
Yeah,
code, fire code,
yeah.
et cetera, then they would be issued their building permit.
Thank you.
I'm looking at attachment C in the package, which is an aerial photograph of the property. And am I correct in assuming that the tree line that's just at the eastern corner of this new property, that's where the creek is located?
Yeah, that blue line's probably off-center a little bit and could be shifted further to the north to be more accurate.
All right, but I'm looking at the photograph, the aerial photograph, and it shows the actual trees and the buildings. And in the trees, I see it looks like a space that runs right down the center of the trees.
That's the location of the creek.
That is the creek.
Mhm.
So according to the plan, there's going to be buildings right on the creek.
Yeah, those are conceptual plans that the applicant provided, and staff did contact the applicant and mention that these plans appear to be inconsistent with the direction that we'd received from Fish and Wildlife as far as establishing buffers, and they said they were aware of that and were in discussions with Fish and Wildlife to seek permits to extend the development into that
Okay.
the creek area.
So
But
obviously, they're not going to build on top of the creek.
I doubt they would be able to.
Right, yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if this is going to reduce the size of the 12 buildings that are envisioned. I'm looking at the map, and it looks like the creek is going to run right through this driveway that's where the parking, or something like that. It's hard to tell, because you can't see. So I just want to, bring that up
Yeah.
and make sure that that's been considered.
I think it's some of the accessory improvements, like maybe like this landing and lower nature trail that is extending into the creek area. The buildings appear to be set back appropriately. So it just may be that some of the amenities that are shown on here may not be realized.
It's a great looking conception. I mean, I might move in there.
I just wanted to mention, sometimes the orange line that shows the property line is actually a little offset because, it's sort of offset to the south, because the driveway that goes around the whole Redwood Meadows is clearly on their property, and so I think that orange line isn't real accurate on the,
Well, there would be another driveway closer to the orange line. If you look at the,
well, and this parking lot right there is not on the Redwood Meadows, that's the.
I know, but if
So-
you scroll up to the actual picture of where the buildings are gonna be,
Yeah,
keep going. No, up, the other way.
oh, the other way, well,
Keep going, keep going,
okay.
keep going.
Yeah,
Right
there, yeah.
See, that's where the buildings are gonna go.
Mhm.
And according to that, it looks like it's infringing in the tree line and the riparian area.
Yeah, no, I was concerned about that too, but I think that orange line is misleading because it looks like it's like over the edge of the creek. That's all.
So, just to clarify something, you did say the difference between R2 and R3 is that if you want to build senior housing in R2, you have to get a special use permit, correct?
Group residential requires approval of a use permit in the R2 zone.
And R3, that's an included.
In R3, group residential is a permitted use.
So if we change this to an R3, they can do senior housing and in addition to anything else that's included in that zoning.
They could potentially present a variety of
Okay.
residential styles and uses. In this case, they're presenting,
Okay, but not a
but they could change their
marijuana-
mind, you know.
Not a
Sure.
marijuana dispensary, though.
No.
Just checking.
Anybody else have anything up here before I open the public hearing? At this time, I would like to open up the public hearing, so any members of the public that would like to speak on this project, you're welcome to come up.
Is there a time for the applicant to speak?
You can come up now also.
I mean, my name is Steve Sheldon, and I'm the architect on the project, and I was also the architect on the original Redwood project. So, just to clarify why it got zoned that way, I think initially, public use, was that what it's? Public facility. I think initially, the entire property, including where the senior center is and that, were all the same zoning. And my client bought the whole piece of property and then portioned off a section for the senior housing. And I think this piece got portioned off with where ultimately the senior center went. So I think that's kind of what happened initially, and then, our original design didn't include building on this, and so that's kind of the background of it. And then, I'm not sure, but you mentioned the orange line, haven't really seen that drawing, but initially, there's an existing fence there on the property, and beyond the fence, it starts to drop off, and that's where all the foliage is and trees. And all the housing is on the flat area on the, I guess it's north of the fence. What we proposed in the site plans that you saw was an attempt to make that area accessible to the residents, and not in the middle of the winter, but in the summer, that there could be some walk and trails that would be down near the creek. And actually, Fish and Game was quite enthusiastic because there's a lot of blackberry and invasive plants in there now, and they were kind of excited about us getting rid of them. Also, we were proposing something that would also stabilize the bank there, but that's a negotiation, and whether we'll be able to do that with Fish and Game or not, we don't know yet. But it's sort of in our progression. The first thing was see if we can do what we want to do, then work in more detail on the site plan and work with Fish and Game to see what really works. So, anybody has any questions on questions?
Oh, I'm looking at this one map, the blow-up of the property, and actually, it's upside down.
Right.
North is going down,
Mhm.
so that the riparian action part is at the top, and I can see there's more space there.
I have a bigger drawing I could put up if the.
Yeah, well, I mean, here. But it makes a little more sense now. I mean, I was looking at this thing as going through the parking lot, you know, but it's actually out here.
It's right next to the existing circle drive that goes around.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Mr. Sheldon, we could certainly use more housing in town.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm happy to see this project come through, so.
Well, thank you.
Anybody else from the public?
Just a question. It sounds like then.
Do you want to, do you want
No,
to
it's
comment?
not.
Well, that way the public can hear you speak.
It sounds like this would be amenable if that trail that was put over by the hospital, walk along the creek, and it sounds like this would be amenable to that extension in that area?
I'm not really familiar with that.
I don't think it's in a different part.
It could, you could probably connect it somehow. It's not really
Well, yeah,
contiguous
you
to
have
it.
to get property between that. but-
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But it sounds like we were talking to the Fish and Game and having access to walking by the river, if that were to be extended,
Well,
you
now
would
that-
save property for
Now
that?
that you mention that, I'll definitely look at what's near the hospital. and
Yeah.
see how we-
Well, that's Hale Creek that you're talking about, that runs right through your, next to the property, correct? And that's what you're referring to. The trail runs right along Hale Creek, so it's possible that it would have to go down Bechtel Road and, you know, East Hill, overhead
John?
lines.
I was just gonna say,
Do
I think
you
the
want,
original.
John? do you want-
Somebody has to come up there.
Yeah,
So to say, the original plan for that trail was to literally come all the way through town, all the way up
Yeah.
here.
Right.
And
But was it gonna
continues.
follow the creek?
The creek and or the railroad right away.
Okay.
Mitch,
But it would be really nice also if it was served, the senior center, so if people at the senior center wanted to take a little walk, they could access, would that be possible on the private property, allow?
Well, I don't know how, I mean, I'm not familiar with the rest of the trail, but now that it's been brought up, I'll look into it. But yeah, that would be great.
yeah, because currently the senior center area is actually fenced in back there.
Yeah.
Well, there is a gate.
It would be harder to connect to the existing Hale Creek Trail because there's roads and other stuff.
You have to cross
Yeah,
the road.
yeah, you have to cross the road. But it sounds like a nice amenity for the whole Redwood Meadows and potentially for the senior center.
Anybody else? All right, at this point, I will close the public hearing and bring it back up here. Do I have anybody that would like to make a motion regarding the resolution?
I will make a motion to, what is the motion? We're looking to change the zoning, that's what we're looking at right now, correct?
Well, I think a motion would be to pass resolution of the city council
Yeah, I'm just looking.
approving the plan amendment and zone change.
It's hard to turn pages on this thing.
Yeah, I know.
It's at the very end,
Back there.
at the very end. is the-
Oh, yeah, okay, I came back. So we're looking to adopt a resolution certifying the mitigated negative declaration approving general plan amendment, GPA 1701, zone change ZC 1701, subject to conditions. That is my motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Madge seconds. A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Anybody else from the public? Roll call vote?
Yes. Councilmember Rodriguez? Yes. Strong?
Yes.
Ornstein?
Yeah.
Jansky?
Yes.
Mayor Gonzalez?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Sheldon.
Yeah. More senior housing is great.
I think more housing in general is good, but, all right.
Do you have any
Consent,
idea, excuse me, do you have any idea what the timeline would be?
No,
Now that you got
the,
approval,
the
why is
owner
it-
wants to go as quick as possible, so.
Yeah, a couple of years, you figure?
I represent the owner and management of the property, and we're looking to do it as soon as possible,
Okay,
pending the weather and approval.
good, thank you.
all right. All right, consent calendar, item 4. I guess, do I have to pull item B? Because I'm not going to vote on it, item B. So,
You just would abstain from the vote on it.
okay. I'll abstain from the vote.
That's the minutes.
The minutes, yeah, I wasn't
Yep.
here.
And I already talked to Kathy about it, but on the item regarding the vote on the fees, it should say a 3-to-1 vote with.
So how about we pull that, you guys?
Well, just so she'll make the correction.
Oh, you corrected it, okay.
Just want to make sure that it's known.
Oh, okay. All right, do I have a Motion on the consent calendar.
I will move.
I so move.
Madge seconded by Larry, because Madge had her hand up first. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
And I abstain. All right, information reports, we had our building inspection activity report submitted. And now we're on item 6, right to appeal. Persons who are dissatisfied with the decisions of the city council may have the right to review of that decision by the court. The city has adopted section 1094.6 of the Code of Civil Procedure, which generally limits to 90 days the time within which the decisions of the city boards and agencies may be judicially challenged. Item 7, commissions and agencies. The Willits City Council meets concurrently as the City of Willits Planning Commission, and sitting as the Planning Commission, discussion and possible action on a conditional use permit application U-17-02, Michael Giles.
All right, thank you, Dusty Dooley, City Planner. This is another one of those projects that's taken too long, and I'm happy to have forward today to you for your consideration. No proper notice has been established, and we haven't received any public comment on this matter. The applicant, Mr. Michael Giles, is requesting a use permit to allow for a light automotive repair shop, a motorcycle repair shop within an existing approximately 2,500 square foot commercial space that previously supported a laundromat and now currently sits vacant. In the C1 zoning, you are allowed to have this use provided you do obtain a use permit from the Planning Commission. I wanted to note that it was actually our previous planning intern, Christopher Alberts, that wrote this report. And I wanted to make sure that he got credit for that. He did an excellent job recognizing what some of the issues were and putting together a solid list of conditions for the project. So if we do get this today, I'll go ahead and send it on and hopefully we can get some college credit or maybe even a job or something off of it. I don't know. Anyways, the proposed hours of operation are 9 to 5 Monday through Saturday. The only issue that staff discovered upon reviewing the project was noise. With the hours of operation being from 9 to 5, recognizing that motorcycle shops have existed in that neighborhood before, specifically across the street in a vacant commercial space now. And then also we've got a condition that they install adequate ventilation in the facility so that if they are having noisier activities, they can close the doors and windows and help reduce the noise to the neighbors there. This project, like all our project, is subject to our noise policies that are found within our general plan as well as within our zoning code. That's made note to within the staff report, but maybe just to be extra cautious or abundantly clear, I would like to recommend that we add, which would be, I guess, condition number 9 or special condition number 1, whatever format made more sense, to add a condition that stated that the project is subject to applicable noise standards found in the City of Willits General Plan and City Code Chapter 17.50. And with that, I'll be happy to try to answer any questions that the council may have of the Planning Commission.
What is the applicant's intentions in terms of the parking lot area? I know that often automotive repair shops have cars that are outside, that is on a corner there. I didn't see that it listed anywhere in the conditions. So what's
the motorcycles won't be parked outside of the building, so any vehicles that are being worked on or stored will be inside the building. So he's not allowed to take out existing parking spaces to essentially have.
So at all times, it is a condition that they'll be inside?
Yeah, and we can maybe craft something together to make that clear.
Okay, yeah, because I didn't find that to be clear, so I think that would be good.
And I think that's a good idea. Thank you.
Ron?
Dusty, see, there's the exhaust fan. I'm seeing only one of them on the north side of the building that exhausts into the creek area. It's just like 1/3 of the way from Main Street. So I guess my question is it going to be filtered? Does this create an issue for, pollution perhaps into the creek area?
It's a pretty wide corridor in there.
There's a lot of trees too, I
It's
guess.
a pretty wide corridor, and as you can see, it's over 25 feet from this back of the sidewalk there.
Well, I was
There
thinking-
will be filters on this. This won't just be an open window. It'll
Yeah,
be a
okay.
ventilation system subject to controls of the mechanical code.
Okay.
And as Dusty mentioned, if we start having specific noise concerns there, the intention is to put individual exhaust extraction systems on there that will take this up through the roof.
Okay. And there is a line of trees right next to the building which could help to absorb anything. Okay.
Anybody else up here have anything? Okay. Did you have something else, Dusty? Otherwise, I'll open up the public hearing. Okay, at this point, I'll open up the public hearing. If anybody from the public would like to speak about this project, this is your chance, but I would like you to come up here and please state your name for the record.
Leon Anderson. Just a quick question, you talked about individual extraction systems, will those be filtered?
Yes and no. Depends on the need. Essentially what we're talking about, and you've seen them in auto repair shops, where they slide a tube over the exhaust system, that goes into a collection system basically, and takes those products of combustion out the roof.
I've seen ones that are just extraction and ones that are filtered, so you don't, there's a.
Yeah, we haven't determined which one's appropriate.
Okay. It just seemed like it would be appropriate to have it, that's all.
Anybody else from the public like to speak on this? Okay, at this point, I will close the public hearing and bring it back up here. Do I have a motion on the resolution?
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve the conditional use permit number 2-17-02.
I'll second.
Is that motion a second? Any further discussion?
And I think I'm trying to craft a condition that talks about the vehicles being stored
Yes,
indoors.
with the caveat that there'll be something in there.
And we had chatted about this actually before the meeting because I'm used to repair shops where things start gathering outside and
That was my thought, and I didn't see it in
Yeah.
the report.
So
Yeah.
my second will include that clarification.
So what I have is all vehicles subject to repair shall be located within the building. Outside storage of vehicles is prohibited.
I mean, obviously-
That, it probably could be worded better if you have something, or you want to pause. and-
So a motorcyclist can come in and use a parking space, but if they're working on the bike, it has to be inside.
Yeah.
Right, right, and
And
then
that's
you can't
traditionally
store
most
vehicles
motorcycle
in
repair
queue
places I know.
outside.
Yeah.
are like that, you don't want to leave your nice bike out in the general parking lot, but I've also seen where auto repair shops, people jump off there.
Exactly.
So
And did we have further discussion?
I just want to, comment that, A, is that parking lot does tend to get pretty full, so that's a good thing that you add that condition. And also, it's just really great to have enterprises start filling up some of our vacant spaces and, bringing jobs and economic activity to the city, so it's a good thing.
And it was also the addition of the noise condition as well.
And the yes.
All right. And hearing no further discussion, I guess roll call vote?
Councilmember Rodriguez?
Yes.
Strong?
Yes.
Ornstein?
Yeah.
Stransky?
Yes.
Bevington?
Yes. Man, you guys are making it easy on me today. All right. And now we are on item 9, department recommendations. adopt a resolution amending fiscal year 2017-18.
Mr. Mayor, before you wanted to go there, do you want to take care of
Oh,
number
sorry.
8, which is the
Sorry.
city manager report?
I apologize, I jumped to that one. Item 8, go ahead.
All right. First of all, I want to say to everyone how glad I am to be here. I look forward to being able to serve the community and the city for however it takes to bring on the permanent city manager. During my first few days here, I've been out and about. I've taken a look at some of the city facilities. I'm also in the process of meeting with the individual department heads and council members, trying just to get my feet on the ground and to get as much background as I possibly can. To update you on the city manager recruitment, I'm glad to tell you that it's moving along. Actually, it looks like we've got a pretty good group of candidates. The number now is reaching 30. 30 applicants for this kind of recruitment is very good. We will be forwarding, the consultant will be forwarding a list of those candidates to you during a special closed session meeting that will be held on November 30th. You'll get an opportunity to review that list and come up with a list of interviewees. That won't be the whole 30, I can guarantee you that. And you'll be conducting those interviews in closed session on December 7th. Hopefully what will happen is that you'll be able to identify a candidate and then enter into the contract negotiation process. So it is possible that by the end of the year you may be in a position to have completed at least the selection process. It'll take a while unless the individual is living right in the back door. It'll take a while for the individual to relocate. And of course, I'll continue to serve during that period of time. I also wanted to note for you that finance director position interviews were conducted. Final individual was reviewed just this last week, just prior to me getting here. Unfortunately, that interview did not pan out, so we're going to need to go out again for the finance director. We continue to have Cecilia Peterson continue to serve in that capacity as an interim. I will note that we are going to be advertising locally as well as regionally for the position. So if there's anybody out there that has an interest in becoming the finance director for the city, that they're encouraged to apply, contact the city offices. But that pretty much concludes my report for this evening, and be happy to answer any questions you might have.
No, welcome.
Thank
Yes,
you.
welcome very much.
I apologize, I'm
That's
going
okay.
on my packet here and bouncing back and forth, so I guess now we're on item 9. Celia?
Hi, Mayor Gonzalez, members of the council. What is before you is a resolution following up on the hearing that you held on October 25th, approving the medical cannabis activity permit program and fees, and authorizing a new assistant planner code compliance officer. The resolution in front of you is a formal adoption of those budgetary changes and changes to the position allocation list within the budget. If you have any questions.
And again, this is obviously not discussing what the individual does, but mostly a budget amendment, is that correct?
Yes, it's authorizing us to change those numbers and add that 1.0 FTE.
And with the idea, this was a cost recovery program, so.
It is, there's no net cost to the city.
I don't have it right in front of me, but I believe it said that that new position might come in halftime first. Is that right? I'm not sure about that.
I think the needs are going to be assessed as the program rolls out. Is that correct, Dusty? And we won't bring the position on until there's actual funding realized
Okay.
to support it.
Yeah.
That's the intent.
Is it feasible if we have enough funding to get a half-time position for, whatever, 3 months, and then possibly up the number of hours? Is that feasible in terms of,
I would defer to the program manager on that one. What do you think?
if it's needed, obviously, depends on what the workload is.
So I wouldn't know I assume if we budget for a full-time, then we're allowed to, hire it as a part-time position. I assume we have that flexibility.
Sure.
Yeah, and that might become the strategy, yeah.
Yeah. The hard part, I guess, would be recruiting somebody who wants a full-time job and.
That would be the downside,
Yeah,
right?
okay.
Do you have anybody else here that would like to speak on this? Do I have a motion on a resolution of the City Council of Willits amending the 2017-18 adopted budget funding the medical cannabis activity program?
I will move approval of that.
Do I have a second?
Gosh, we just approved it last time.
I'll second the motion.
Second the motion, okay. Do we have further discussion? All right, at this point, I will call,
Do we have public discussion?
sorry about that, thank you. Anybody from the public that would like to speak on this? All right, thank you very much. At this point, I would be looking for a roll call vote.
Councilmember Rodriguez,
Yes.
Strong,
Yes,
Weinstein,
No.
Stransky,
Yes.
Mayor Gonzalez.
Yes. All right. Department recommendations continuing. Public safety, Chief, do you have something?
Just a very brief staffing update. We have 2 of our officers that are in the background process with 2 other agencies. I would expect them to be getting conditional job offers within the next week. With that in mind, we have started recruiting. We have 2 very good candidates that we've had oral boards with, and they're starting into the background process. So we're trying to stay ahead of the game a little bit and hope to have them close to being on board by the time the other 2 leave. We also have a candidate in the police academy at College of the Redwoods in Eureka. He will be graduating Thursday, December 14th. And we'll have him back down going through the field training program. And hopefully we'll stay up to strength as much as possible.
All right.
Thank you.
Community development, anything more?
Thank you. So I'm just assuming the council may be curious how the cannabis applications are going. The ordinance did take effect. We've been meeting with a number of prospective applicants and just going over general ideas and making sure that the property that they've chosen is of the correct zoning and meets all the required setbacks and everything, and having preliminary conversations to make sure they understand what's required to make application and answer any questions they may have. And we've had a number of new folks pop up recently and identify new properties for potential developments. We've been feverishly working to create applications. We have a general application put together. We have a permit checklist that identifies a plethora of information that we need from applicants to show that a project's consistent with the ordinance. And we haven't received any application. That's likely because they're busy putting together operation plans, site plans, floor plans, odor control plans. We developed a wastewater discharge survey for them to complete so that we have a better understanding of any pre-treatment protocols will be required prior to putting anything down the drain and into our city sewer system, live scan forms, waste management plans, et cetera, et cetera. So we do anticipate getting a number of applications here in the next 2 to 3 weeks, or possibly as soon as next week, but we don't have any yet. Let's see, the community development specialist has hit the ground running. He's met with a variety of departments to understand their current work that they have related to grants, and we're in the transition of handing those duties off to the community development specialist, so that he'll be handling all, or at least the majority of grant duties for the city. He's also done a great job of helping me out with these cannabis applications that we were talking about. We have already identified 3 grants that we'd like to pursue. One on the very small scale and one on the larger scale. And a little premature to go into the details, but we're already actively seeking grants and recognizing deadlines and looking to meet those deadlines. So hopefully have some positive updates on that to share with you, as we will have a monthly report for you guys moving forward. So.
Couple of questions. I just was wondering, is there any progress, I guess through the Revite Ed committee, on the civic billboard? Is that?
Thank you for mentioning that. Now that we've got our new city manager on board, we're looking to finalize the date for Revite Ed, hopefully later this month. And that would be a topic for discussion. Where we left off last time was we were able to seek I'll call it a gentleman's agreement with the property owner that had frontage on 101, and their willingness to allow us to have free lease of the land to put up a civic type billboard. We agreed on the design, and we also put together a cost estimate, and if memory serves me correct, it was about $35,000 for construction and materials. And it may be that we can seek donation of labor and materials, but the general consensus was that we ought to figure out how to pay for this thing before we get too far down the design road. We actually did have somebody show up to that meeting, a local artist that shared some very good designs with us that I actually have hanging in my office. But so we're seeking about $35,000 to make that happen, and some folks had some ideas that left that meeting, but I didn't hear back from anybody. So we're still at, I got $1 on it, I guess, so a little bit ways more to go. But,
I had a question. I know that other communities are experiencing an influx in temporary housing, and I'm wondering if the city of Willits has had any impact. I know initially when the fire first happened, we saw motorhomes sitting in parking lots and things like that. Have you received any calls or had any issues with temporary housing setting up? Because we know that people are doubling up in homes. I'm wondering the impact we've had to the city.
Very few inquiries, and they've been specifically about putting RVs in local driveways for periods of time. And so far, we haven't come up with anybody that really wants to follow through. So yeah, we haven't seen that. We have had some stray RVs camping on the public street in town. That's been taken care of. That had nothing to do with the fire. It had to do with somebody running out of funds, and we did the break down in town and really walking away from the vehicles, making it open squatters. So.
I did just hear on the radio that I guess FEMA or whoever has extended the ability of people that were, whose homes were burned, to stay in motels, to get some subsidies for staying in motels. So that's good. Usually it ends after several weeks, and they're extending that, doubling the time or something. It's good.
All right. Thank you, Dusty. John, do you have something?
Good evening. Been very busy and very encouraged with potential applicants here that have been coming in, and sitting down, like they've been with Dusty, finding out if their property is the appropriate property, has the appropriate zoning, et cetera. Then they're coming into my department and talking about what are they gonna need in terms of buildings. What's their building gonna have to be configured like? What kind of systems are they gonna need? It's real encouraging that these people are sophisticated. They're asking the right questions. They're understanding that essentially these are health and safety codes, these are building and safety codes, these are mechanical and fire codes. And they're sophisticated enough to understand that if we're in this classification, that's what's required here. And so they're doing their homework before the day of the test, and I'm very pleased to see this. And I think what we're doing right now is we're investing a little time with these people that's gonna really pay dividends later when they start making applications. And I don't have to continuously reject the plans and say these are not complete, or we need to, recognize different standards than this and everything. And that's quite common under these circumstances, and I'm encouraged. I think. As far as general building department, there's lots of little stuff happening. There's lots of remodeling happening. There's even some little secondary housing units happening. So I'm pleased to see that. I'm looking forward to spending the winter getting ready so that in spring we can start digging and start building. Code enforcement. Essentially, the outdoor cultivation season has completed, and almost all of the enforcement activity relative to that has been completed. That being said, a lot of other code enforcement activity sort of built up while that was taking most of the attention. And so this next week we have a couple of hearings scheduled with an administrative hearing body to bring some long-standing code enforcement problems to conclusion one way or another. That being said, it seems like people are getting the idea. I'm not having such a fight with just the stuff like cars parked on the front lawn and things like that. So it just seems to me like things are getting better. People are getting the point.
I just have one question. On your building activity report, I think there was a 45 kilowatt solar installation that was $115,000. Is that about what it costs to put in that level of solar?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that people are putting in
A
solar.
rule of thumb is
That's
between $3 and $4 a kilowatt for a system like that. But a 45 kilowatt system is a big system.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
This is going to go on the mini storage at the south end of town, and it's going to basically fill the roof of one of the main buildings and part of the roof of the second building. So,
Mhm.
big system.
Yeah, well, that's a good thing. More solar is a good thing. Thank you.
Question. This may be for either Dusty or you. I have a question on two properties in town. The one over here behind us, has there been any movement or plans submitted for that piece of property?
I haven't had any contact in 2 or 3 months. I don't know about this.
I think we've been on the same page as far as, yeah.
Okay.
The old
And
John's
then-
place, that one?
Yeah, right across.
John's place.
No, I've been contacted by the Cheshires relative to what's going on over there, but not by the property owners.
Okay, and then have you officially been contacted by anybody related to the Remco property? I know recently more people have come to me wanting to know if we have any knowledge of what's happening over there. And I've heard some, but I'm just wondering if officially you could give a statement for the communities to let them know where that stands and what's going on with that property.
No, staff shares probably the community's desire to see that property made use of. We do have a general plan amendment rezone, requesting a rezone a portion of the property that fronts 101 and rezone it from its current designation of heavy industrial to a commercial zoning. There was something else in there I'm forgetting too, but there's no uses that have been identified with that. So I think they're just recognizing that it might make sense to have a commercial component of a future development along the frontage with 101 where you have that high visibility at. The remaining majority of the property would remain heavy industrial under their current proposal. And so that's about 6 projects back on my list, so we'll look forward to bringing that forward to you guys here at some point sooner than later.
Thank you.
Just to remind the public that when we approved that project, or that use of the property, one of the concerns we all raised was to get it going, and that the applicant, or the buyer of the property would be prepared to move ahead in an expeditious way, and I think we're getting impatient. We'd like
The
to.
progress I can report is some demolition that was done inside the building of some old wooden buildings that had been added inside the metal building that really didn't have any place there in the first place. But other than that, no.
Yeah, it's been.
I'd like to
been a few years.
suggest that maybe the city reach out to the property owners for an update as to what's happening on such a crucial piece of property in the center of our community, and was the subject of much debate, that I think we owe it to the public to give them a formal update.
Good idea.
Do you think we could reach out and see if maybe they could come and give us an update at one of the council meetings? We can make it like a nice invitation.
I'll let them know if the council desires.
Thank
So
you.
the public wants to know, so,
Yeah.
all right.
Any other questions?
That's it.
All right. And did we have anything from our Public Works or Engineering that we need?
No.
All right. You mentioned, Bob, when we met, that Public Works was out doing storm.
Yes, I'll just mention that. The Public Works crew is out clearing storm drains, et cetera, getting the leaves out of the way. Obviously, we have this impending storm that's coming in, and trying to get things as prepared as possible.
All right.
Jerry, could I add something to that? I was going to mention that in my closing remarks, that I really appreciate that I have seen, in the last 2 weeks, I have seen Public Works out revisiting even the same streets because the leaves are falling so heavily with the storm, and getting our gutters clean. And then also, I wanted to take note of the fact that the city park, a lot of work has been done since we last met, and if you haven't been over there, they've laid all the wood chips around where some of the new trees are, and it looks really nice. There were some comments that we didn't want to see a lot of pavement over there, and with the wood chips, it has a very natural look to it. It looks nice.
And the good thing is they don't tend to float away there at City Park like they do at the,
Yes.
around the east side there, so.
Yeah.
So, all right, City Council and committee reports. League of Cities hasn't met yet, and so MCOM?
Yes, we met Monday and got the review of several items that was coming up. Public Transit Improvement Program, and the Technical Advisory Committee recommended 2 things. An upgrade of $100,000 for the Sherwood Road upgrade. This is over and above what they have already decided to spend. And a Willits bypass for $98,000, and it's an upgrade for planning and not for construction yet. But the Sherwood Road, they're going to work on it in 2018 and 19, and the relinquishment, the $98,000 is coming in 1920, and they did not say what it was. It was just an upgrade on the planning of it.
Larry, I'd be curious to get more information on why we're spending another $90,000 or $98,000. What are we getting for that?
I don't know.
Was that approved by MCOG? Is that what?
Yes, to go for, we went along with what the tech said, and it's just for They just need the extra money, and I will find out and bring it back next time.
So we shouldn't need any road repairs on a brand new.
No, this is for the
relinquishment.
actual design and the work for Sherwood Road, and I do not know what the 98 is for the relinquishment. Yes?
Yeah, I know that there were several years back when another chunk of the MCOG's funds were put into the bypass overall budget because there were these overruns. There was a lot of concern within the county, especially other jurisdictions that weren't getting much in the way of funds left over for any of them, that was it, you know, that we had given our local share and Caltrans was, you know, committed to completing the project
Okay.
within their budget, so it
Where
seems
the
like it's
money's
a,
coming from is SB1.
so it's not the local STIP money.
Right.
Okay, well, that helps a little bit, but it still seems like Caltrans sort of has a, what's the word, you know, whatever they want, more money, they just keep spending more money, you know, that they have a never-ending supply of overruns.
Right.
Sort of upsetting to me, anyway.
Another thing that was interesting to me is that they mentioned that the matching money for SB1 for the city of Willits is matching money, and we have a total of $100,000, but we have to match it. And my understanding is that we don't have $100,000 to match it out of our half-cent sales tax.
We did, at one point, approve 100,000 towards the
No,
Main
this-
Street.
No, but this is not for that. This is the 100,000 is for the roads and the repair that's coming down the line.
Well,
When they
that is the relinquishment.
No, this is.
No, it's
SB
different.
This is the SB1 money.
If this is SB1 money, and this is the money that you're paying at the gas pump if you've gone to the service station lately.
Yeah.
But Larry, we have some road projects that we have already budgeted. Couldn't we use, because when I had talked to Adrian before about that, she had stated that we could take those existing road projects that we have allocated $300,000 or $400,000, whatever the case may be, to those projects, and we could use that as matching funds if that got approved.
That was, I think, we had one of the meetings where we talked
Yeah,
about it. that it
so
would
I'm
be
hoping, and
leveraging.
maybe Bob can follow up on that.
Yes, I will, Mr. Mayor. I'll follow up with the Council of Governments and try and get that point clarified into what that match is and how we can accomplish it.
And it seems like, well,
We had last time, we had a thing, what the city had recommended was an overlay for the whole city. Does anybody remember this?
what do you mean overlay?
An overlay. That was
As far as
what
SB1?
was recommended. And so, I just figured that everybody knew that.
I don't know what you mean by an overlay.
They're gonna go over all of the roads and resurface them.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, gotcha. Yeah,
And they're not gonna do asphalt, they're gonna just do the oil and the rock.
I think I heard you mention that once before, Larry.
And
On
so
Main Street.
that is the thing that is approved or will be approved for the city of Willits.
For Main Street, resurfacing Main
No,
Street.
everything. It's matching, it's gonna be 100,000 from SB1 and 100,000 from the city. But the city doesn't have the 100,000 in their half-cent sales tax.
Okay, if I understand what you're saying, is that the matching funds can't be used for like one of these other projects, it has to be specifically
You have
for
to say,
resealing roads throughout the whole city.
what it's for, and then you have to come up with the money to do your part of it.
But we have up to 100,000. The issue is that,
If we have
we
the
had
other
a-
money that we can put in with it, yes.
well, maybe Bob could find out exactly what we need to do and get with finance and just figure out where we sit, so.
Yeah.
We may have up to 100,000 that we could touch, but if we only have 50,000, then we're limited to 50,000's worth
That's
of
right.
leveraging money.
So one other question. I thought I heard you say, but maybe I'm wrong, that the relinquishment, which means the upgrades of Main Street, are not going to be in 2018, but not until 2020?
It's 18 and 19 is when this upgrade is,
Oh,
that particular part of it of the 98,000.
But that's the upgrade of existing road, that's the SB1 matching funds. The relinquishment project, which is what we've been,
That's going on.
that's going on
without
as
this.
scheduled.
Mhm.
Okay, what was going to be 2020? I thought you.
2020, I said 18 and 19 for the Sherwood Road,
Okay,
and 19 and 20 for the upgrade for the relinquishment.
well, that's what I'm wondering about, what upgrade for relinquishment, because I thought that was going to be in 18 next.
18 and 19.
But that's
2018,
Sherwood.
2019.
That was what you said was Sherwood Road. What is Main Street? When are they
Okay,
going to do Main Street?
once again, the upgrade for the Sherwood Road
Yes.
turnabout and everything that's going to happen there is going to happen on 18 and 19. 2018, 2019. The extra money, the $98,000, is going to happen 19, 20. And what it is, I have no idea.
Okay.
That's
And
in
so-
addition to the relinquishment.
In addition to
Right.
it, so
Right.
that
In addition to the-
1920 isn't
the
the
regular money.
relinquishment project,
Yeah.
because that's next year.
And Bob, you're,
Okay.
you're having a follow-up
that's
meeting with
right.
Caltrans.
Well,
so then you could get it.
I certainly will, Mr. Mayor. I understand it's, the relinquishment is a very big priority of the council. And I'll be meeting with them, trying to get an update as to what the schedule is. And I will only say that briefly on what I've heard here, if they're actually allocating $98,000 for additional design, that's probably a good thing. That means that there's additional work they must be considering. So we'll meet with them and try and get a handle on it.
Thank you.
You know, if, I have been saying for years on this council that we need somebody to go down for the tech part of this. And we as of yet haven't got anybody to go down on a regular basis since Kathy, who was the,
Rod Wilbur?
Rod Wilburn?
no, this is way before Rod Wilbur. That was the public works person. David Madden. We haven't had anybody consistently go down and represent the city. And I have mentioned this and mentioned this here and mentioned it to Adrian, and it doesn't happen. And that's where the money happens. And as a council, we do not do that.
We could talk to our engineering staff and see if we could coordinate.
Certainly, I understand the importance of having somebody at those TAC meetings.
I know we're stretched when it comes to staff, but in light of the relinquishment and trying to get these, at least on the technical side, maybe it would be good to have a horse in that race. So,
Larry, do you have any update on the charging stations?
On the what?
On the charging stations?
No. That we have, John has, or Dusty?
So we're working with some funds that the Mendocino Land Trust has. We've actually been working with them a number of times, following some leads, and nothing quite panned out. But we're looking to work with them to place 2 charging stations, which actually have 2 units, so potentially charge 4 electric vehicles at one time and make use of our existing public parking lot between Mendocino and Wood Street there. So we met with Land Trust. Mr. Sherman was able to come by, had our engineering group take a look at it. We also met with PG&E and then an electrician that would be hired to do the work to identify a location and kind of come up with a general plan to how to get those things going. And staff was really excited to try to get them close to downtown, because it's our understanding that once you charge your vehicle, it's there for at least a couple hours.
Yes.
And so it's nice to have them close to our downtown and to have them hanging out in Willits for a little bit. And then we're also exploring kind of looking to the next step, should we get those installed. And again, it's no cost to the city. We're going through the details right now, but looking into the maintenance requirements and making sure we recoup our costs so that if anything, we're at least making a little bit of money potentially, but certainly not losing money. But actually getting some signage on the highway, noting that we do have some vehicle charging stations in town. And, getting back to our favorite subject of highway signage, but yeah.
Will these be the high-speed Tesla-type charging stations
Yeah,
that
they're-
recharge in like half an hour as opposed to the other ones that take a little longer?
I think it's the other ones. It's not the
Standard.
Tesla ones, which apparently are faster. I'm
Yeah.
not really sure. Certainly, I asked that question too, and I was told that, you know, a Tesla vehicle could use these chargers, but they're not the ultra fast one. I asked what a typical charging time would be and was told about 2.5 hours.
Which is a good thing for our city,
Oh, yeah.
because
Yeah.
we want them to shop and eat.
As long as you put them in the center of town, you know, it's a-
Hey, Dusty, I know you're not a computer guy, but
No,
I
I'm
know
not.
that whoever we need to make sure if we get these up and running, that we get put on some sort of Google kind of spot, because anymore now, and everybody is going, you know, internet-based, and if they Google charging station, hopefully we show up so that.
Yeah, I think there's websites that have maps dedicated to that.
There
We'll
is.
certainly work to
Yeah,
make
so
sure they're
we can
alerted of.
Make sure we're
they're close
placed
now.
there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the next one north of us is, you know, so it might be that we're the last stop for
I
a
don't
little
think there
ways.
is anything for a while.
Until Fortuna, I know Fortuna has something there, so.
I know Point Arena, Fort Bragg, Ukiah, and Willits were the 4 places that were discussed in terms of putting in charging stations.
All right, thank you, Dusty. Did you have anything more, Gary?
That's it, thank you.
All right, EDFC.
Madge is going to attend tomorrow, I believe, in my place. Nothing major has changed with EDFC, just putting it out there to the public that once again, if you're an entrepreneur and you have a business that you would like to either open or expand, that the EDFC has funds available in up to $50,000 loans, and they have $350,000 loans that are available. You just need to call or stop by the EDFC office in Ukiah, fill out an application. I went through the process myself just to see how quick it was. The application process takes about 20 minutes to initially start, and then somebody will follow up with you. I can't tell you what the loan rates are. That's something I asked Madge to kind of look into so that we can let people know up front maybe what the potential interest rate is there, but it's another way to get your business moving if you're thinking about expanding here in Willits.
I want to add, one of the things on the agenda for tomorrow is that they're going to start co-locating where West Company is, and the lease at the back end of the church there, Methodist Church in Ukiah, is up. So they decided to save money and also partner with West Company. But that decision will be on the agenda for tomorrow to start doing that. And then I'm also going to be talking to them at that meeting and in general about having a kind of an outreach entrepreneur fair or forum here in Willits where we can put West Company, EDFC, some of our successful entrepreneurs that have already gone through this startup process and how they, you know, what were the pitfalls and their things they can advise other entrepreneurs so that people can learn and find out how to get money and, you know, how to start up a business. So we're going to be, we as the Willits Economic Localization is going to kind of bring those people together probably early in 2018, and looking forward to that.
All right. MSWA.
MSWA, they haven't met.
Okay. And MTA.
Nothing's changed with MTA since we last met. I know we talked to Kathy to get some contact information to make sure that the MTA general manager was in contact with Caltrans, because MTA has a new general manager in the last year and hasn't yet made contact with Caltrans. We want to make sure that they're involved before anything is actually put out to bid in the spring to ensure that all of the potential routes are ADA accessible and just make sure that MTA is included before the final site is done.
Okay. LAFCO, that's where I was at the last meeting, was at the LAFCO statewide meeting, and it was very informative. It was like a training. Learned a little bit more about the role of LAFCO. We talked about some funding sources, but nothing really, in the end, it was kind of nice to know that everybody shares a lot of the same concerns. And they did kind of, what is a LAFCO, and kind of polled folks out on the street. They had one of those firms says, do you know what LAFCO is? And somebody commented, is it a comedy club? Is it it was kind of funny, but it's Local Area Formation Commission is what it is. And they kind of help communities, basically before you annex things, you basically have to go before LAFCO. It also forces cities and special districts to come together and look at their service populations. And speaking of that, the November 6th meeting I went to, what was on there was the public hearing for the City of Fort Bragg Municipal Improvement District and Municipal Service Review and their sphere of influence. So we're up on this too. We have our sphere of influence also that we should be working on too. And they also did a policy amendment regarding application requirements for tax exchange process. They had an applicant who was basically taking over a role that previously was served by somebody else, and the process for basically doing a tax exchange wasn't as lined out as it should have been, and so that was clarified recently, so that all applicants know what needs to happen. Even if it's a statement that we don't agree on the tax sharing or who gets the taxes, but we still think it's a good thing to do. At least it's on the record. And I guess they were also served with a records request regarding the Ukiah Sanitation City Ukiah lawsuit that's happening. And that was basically it. We reported out on what we learned at the LAFCO conference. Finance Committee, I talked to Bob and you both, he and our new finance director, getting the feet wet. They should be trying to set something up for us.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'm thinking that we should get that done within the next 2 weeks. And I know Dusty's already talked about getting the REVIT committee going before the end of the month, so we'll be getting those meetings set.
Okay. Water and Wastewater Systems Committee, I don't think they've met, right? All right.
No, it was not until Bob came on board.
Yeah, and ad hoc Caltrans hasn't met yet, and cannabis hasn't met.
We should probably think about disbanding the cannabis ad hoc committee. It was formed for the purpose of coming up with an ordinance suggestions, and we've met that.
So as far as, is that something we just, as of today, I say we're disbanding?
If that's the concurrence,
It's ad hoc, and once the job is done,
right,
Yeah,
it's
I think
disbanded.
that we brought it before the council. Is that?
Well, the only thought I had about that is that we have a lot of on-the-ground learning that's going to happen in the next 3 months as we process these things and looking at if we, covered everything. I wonder if we want to just keep it going to just see how the first several months of rolling out the actual ordinance, because we can always come back and revisit that later.
I'd prefer to have that discussion with the full council rather than an ad hoc.
That's true.
Yeah, the ad hoc was formed to put together an ordinance,
Okay.
and that was it. That was the whole purpose. And
Yeah.
it was
So
done, so it should be
I
disbanded.
agree, Jim. I think at this point that we take it off the books, and then if we need to address some other issues, I know that there's some other state law issues that we may want to reopen up, but I think we need to see how things are running first.
And actually, that's up to you. You formed it, you can disband it.
Yeah, that's
You don't
what
need a
I'm-
vote.
Okay.
That's what I was asking. I wasn't looking for a vote. I was looking for consensus from everybody here. So if everybody feels that way, I think we take it off the books. Kathy?
Got it.
All right.
Thank you.
And Little Lake Fire JPA, we haven't set a date yet for that, and so I was gone. I think we'll try and. work
And
something.
has there ever been a JPA for the feasibility study for the wastewater treatment? Or is that just, because I don't think it's ever met.
I don't think so. I think that was on Adrian's radar to try and get with, because that's that Brook Trail City thing, isn't it?
That's right, I have been involved in that.
The last that happened is they were approached like 6 months ago to set up a date, and they never came back. So I had the sense that nobody really cares about this
Was it
anymore.
not a requirement?
Well, it was a term of settlement.
Yeah.
We should reach out to them and,
Okay.
and find out
They're still
if they
interested.
would have an interest in pursuing this.
They may kind of just
Maybe
be
not.
Yeah,
waiting for the smoke to clear. Larry Gears.
I don't want to pursue.
Not on that, I'm talking about, who's on the Little Lake Fire Department?
Well, the ad hoc was going to be myself and Ron, and I don't think we've reached out yet. I was leaving to be the fire chief.
You know, I spoke with the fire chief today, and he said that they're going to appoint their 2 members to the ad hoc committee next Tuesday, and following that, we'll get a general meeting put together.
Okay. All right. And then Museum Advisory Board?
The museum meeting is on Monday morning at 10 a.m. But I just want to remind the public that there is, you can still view the Then and Now, the Main Street Then and Now exhibit is still there. If you haven't gone and had the opportunity to look at it, it's beautiful. And then there's been some questions about whether or not there will be the annual event that takes place where you can bring your kids and get pictures with Santa and the trains out and hot chocolate and all that. That is going to happen again this year on December 2nd, Saturday. It's the same day as the tree lighting event. I don't recall offhand the time for the tree lighting, but that will take place in the evening. I think it's at 6 p.m., but don't quote me
The
on
tree
that.
lighting would be down there, right?
And it's going to be down there in front of the museum. But it is definitely on December 2nd, so mark your calendar.
Thank you. And visit Willits Tourism Board?
Yes, the tourism board took a little break because of the fires, but we picked back up again. 2 members of the original steering committee have moved away. There's 4 of us left. We held interviews and we met yesterday and selected candidates. Those candidates are being notified that they've been selected to the tourism board, and we have our next meeting set for the first week of December, I believe, when the steering committee will present to this new board what our vision is, and we'll allow them to add to it, and then I'll report back to you what projects we're going to get started with right away. But it is a collaboration between the city and the chamber with lots of community stakeholders involved.
Thank you, Sabrina. I appreciate you getting on that. So.
Yeah.
All right. Any council member reports or recommendations? Larry?
In light of the fire that we had, and we used to have a fire whistle, and there was a thing in the community where when the fires went that everybody knew. And something happened to it, and it was given to Brook Trails, one of the sirens. We had 3 of them, and nobody seems to know what happened to the others. I am interested in listening to a few people in the community, think that for an emergency thing, maybe not blowing it at noon or whatever, but we need something to alert the community that we're having some kind of problem. I think probably the fires were a good example because absolutely not very many people knew what was going on.
I want to think there's over-reliance on technology. I know that you're not a big technology person, but I think you're right. Not a lot of people know.
That doesn't cut it. I mean, if all of these things, it didn't bother me. I didn't care whether it was down or not, but we need to know on the radio or something what's happening. Nobody knew. I came down here and sat with people what Sabrina set up the thing for us to have these people here. And I had 3 or 4 people that came, and they were interested in their animals, and they were told, and which was really a good thing, that they could use the rodeo grounds. It's the first time I ever heard that. And I'm on the council. I mean, we didn't have any kind of thing going on where everybody was on the same page. And I think that we need to do it as a council. That's part of our responsibility, to know what's going on.
I would agree that the whole council could have been better informed and better involved in that, and immediately reacting so that we could disseminate the information that we received. And that's something that we could maybe, in a workshop format, strategize on how we could do better in the future.
Well, I think that when, and I've talked to the city manager about this, and I know that we've been talking about our emergency plan, and part of what should have happened with prior councils would have been a workshop, a roundtable, is what it would have been, a tabletop exercise regarding that. I think what's happened regarding the whistles is that this sort of reliance on technology, most people don't have landlines anymore, they've gone to cell phones. There was this big, we don't need that anymore kind of attitude, and I think what happened is that all because folks were tired of being disturbed by the whistle, whether it was happening at night or not. And there was also kind of a thing back when everybody had scanners and everything, and you'd be surprised at how many calls came in because people wanted to know what the fire was. And then when they went to the pagers to the fire department and they went away from some of that, I think the thought was none of this technology is ever going to break. And we've had 2 instances where the technology is broken, and I think, yeah, I would not have voted to get rid of the whistles, but those were done from the folks that were before us, so.
So maybe a tabletop exercise on the calendar, it doesn't have to be immediately, but something calendar would be.
I think that should probably go once we have the emergency plan updated and involve everybody here, so everybody is familiar with the plan and the how it works. I think would be more appropriate. That way everybody knows what their role is.
As long as we don't lose track of it.
Yeah. As far as the emergency sirens, on the face of it, it sounds like a good idea to me too, but particularly maybe in Brook Trails, but even in the city, if we did have emergency siren going off, not at the testing time, you know, like have a test once a month or something that everybody knows when it is and that's it. But if you had a siren going off, there's the danger of people just panicking and not knowing what it is they're supposed to do.
And that's why you want to coordinate that with your emergency plan, so that if that goes off, it would go off. You know, obviously, the coast, they're really in tune with it, but it kind of involves, you hear that on the coast, you're probably thinking tsunami.
Right, and that's a clear kind of just get off of the coastline.
Yeah, I mean, I remember growing up, we had the noon whistle here. Ruby, you probably remember that. And for most moms in town, it was kids come home when you hear the noon whistle, and most of those were kind of coordinated with you. Your parents worked at the mill or whatever, those also kind of went on. And so I think it's a good example of where old technology was phased out maybe a little too soon. And some of the reverse 911 options don't work if your cell towers burn up.
Yeah, that's right.
And so I think it's got to be a...
I agree, we need to look at it and try to see what the appropriate, maybe, some backup systems that aren't reliant on all of the high-tech stuff, so that there is something in place.
And they're also part of the emergency plan also would involve continuity of government also. That's a big thing, because there are some legal requirements for when there is an emergency, and if there is a natural disaster that we as a council need to be involved with, even if some of them empower the city manager as the emergency coordinator. They're given some latitude, but then at a certain point, we'd have to meet and at least pass certain resolutions to protect folks financially, and also line us up for FEMA money if that happens. So,
One more. After the fire, I think that we, as a group of people, ought to send something to the supervisors that we need a second access again to brook trails. I mean, I know that's not in our jurisdiction and whatever, but there's a lot of people that visit our community that come off of brook trails. And it was scrubbed, I don't know, a couple, 2 or 3 years ago or whatever. But I think it's time that the people in brook trails and the people in Willits and whatever bury their hatchet, come up with a right place to have it done, and have a second access. Because if we would have had the same thing up there that they had in Sonoma County, it would have been a terrible thing. And as a group of people that can send a letter to the supervisor, it's time to do that.
It's on the supervisor's agenda this next week on Tuesday, I believe it is. And we don't have it on our agenda for tonight, so we can't take a vote on it. But I think individuals here could either go to that Board of Supes meeting or write letters, and the public too, if you're concerned about that, to just get it back on their planning so that they look at the different routes and start getting.
Well, our supervisor representative is on MCOG.
Georgianne.
And Georgianne. And we talked about it after the meeting, and she's tried to get, get it started again. And she's run into some roadblocks, and I just think it ought to be going, and I think as a group of people, if we need to vote on it or whatever, we need to send something to the supervisor saying, it's about time that we do that, at least start it up again.
I agree with Larry that it would show some good faith to show that the city of Willits supports that second access road. It has a significant impact if there was a tragedy on the hill.
But Jim, we're not allowed to take a vote on that tonight, are we?
No, we're not, but it sounds like that.
Could we bring it back as an agenda for
Yeah,
another,
sure.
for next meeting? I think that's very, very relevant and very important. All right, I guess we're on item 12, unless anybody else has anything else. Enactment of ordinances, discussion, possible adoption, reading, title of, and waiving further reading of ordinance modifying chapter 17.72 of the Willits Municipal Code entitled Non-Conforming Uses and Structures Related to the Restoration and Rebuilding of Damaged Legal Non-Conforming Structures. Steve?
Yeah, all right. So the council remembers that this was an ordinance that was introduced at our last meeting. Staff had presented the situation. Council had voted to go ahead and introduce it and bring it back at this meeting for formal adoption. Did not identify any revisions to be made, so it remains the same verbiage that you saw at the last meeting. And I'll leave it that brief unless you have any questions.
So
I'll move recommended action.
I'll second that.
Motion second. Any further discussion?
Hands don't matter, voice.
Anybody from the public like to speak on this?
Okay, call for the vote.
Councilmember Rodriguez?
Yes.
Strong?
Yes.
Ornstein?
Yeah.
Stransky?
Yes.
Mayor Gonzalez?
Yes. All right. Well, any good in welfare? Madge?
Well, two things. One was this morning, the Chamber of Commerce had a lovely breakfast. It was delicious. It was catered by Scoops, and a lot of people were there from the whole Chamber business community, and it was a really nice event. And they have several kind of shop local events coming up that people should read the paper and check on. One of them is the Saturday after Thanksgiving, rather than on Black Friday. They're having a
Local
shop local, whatever, on Saturday after Thanksgiving. And the other item I just wanted to mention is that the 5 groups that are sharing the Willits Environmental Hub over there near Mariposa Market had a lovely party on Sunday, and lots of people showed up, and there was a lot of enthusiasm for the various environmental localization, river, and wildlife groups that, and social justice groups that all share that nice little building there. So other people are interested, get in touch with me, and we'd love to have people join those groups.
Anybody else? Going? Okay. All right. At this point, no closed sessions, so get a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.